Let's look at some players who are struggling. Do they suck? Well, it's up for you to decide. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and fire trucks are actually water trucks. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Check out lockedondaily.com. You will find the best NBA newsletters over there. For your favorite team, it gets stuffed into your inbox once a day, 5 days a week. LockedOnDaily.com. Also, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. I love that you double bang, and you should keep doing it. We're here to talk fantasy basketball trades, so to speak. Don't have to trade these guys. We're talking buy lows, right? So in this show, we're talking about the guys who are underperforming, using the data from the last 2 weeks. You know what? If I say that somebody is a buy low, there's 5 names here. These are not the only buy lows. You do not have to acquire these players. You can. You do not pay what you think their value might be later on. If you don't want to get them, that's all good. We're just talking about guys who I think are struggling, and I think it is reasonable to expect that they turn it around. That's all this is. That's all this is. That's all we're talking about. So let's talk about it a little bit more. Actually, before we do that, it is Darwin Day, so shout out to Chuck. But we're also going to look at how we did on this 2 weeks ago, how the buy lows turned out. And the first one, not so good. LaMelo Ball. He hurt his ankle, and I said, I think people are going to really, really panic. You might be able to get a really good deal here. And his production was down, 58th. Well, he's 140th since then because, of course, he lasted 10 minutes in the last game and hasn't really played. It's frustrating. We know that LaMelo playing 33, 34 minutes a night is going to cook this number. He's going to be a top 10 to top 15 player per game. We just don't know what's going on with that team, and now it's a different ankle that he sprained. And the thing is with this stuff with LaMelo is that it's not like they're making up an injury. We're seeing them happen. Like, it's not like they go, oh, by the way, LaMelo's got something sore. You didn't see it, but like it's happening, like Larry Markkanen's back injury or John Collins' hip injury, like that you never saw happen. We are seeing these happen all the time. It's just consistent bad luck. And I don't know if he's coming back or not, but pretty sure I won't be having LaMelo Ball in the buy lows anymore. Trae Young was 44th. Said he might be a bit of a buy low. He's 23rd since then. There was an idea, and this is one of the things we talked about as well, is like when you got production and narrative mixed in together, it's a great opportunity to be able to pull off trades, because the narrative was, oh my God, Jalen Johnson's out. He's not going to hit any shots. He's not going to have anyone to pass to. He's just going to turn it over, and he's done, right? So we dispelled that, which is great. His numbers are back up. The thick hogsman, Toby Harris, he looked dreadful, and it was unexplainable. Why, with players out, is he just never taking shots? Well, he's been fine. He was 243rd, and he's 83rd now. That's a W. It's an unequivocal double. W. Chris Paul's an interesting one, because I thought that Chris Paul would do better, and then in the interim, they traded for De'Aaron Fox, and I thought that would cook Chris Paul. And it sort of hasn't. He was 115th. He's 112th since then. He is starting. He will continue to start for the foreseeable future. And I don't know that he gets much better than this, but it didn't. The De'Aaron Fox thing could have made this disgusting, and he could have played 18 minutes a night, but that hasn't happened. And the last one on this list was Kobe White. He was 125th. He is 63rd since then. And again, there's so many of these things. It wasn't just because we expected Zach LaVine to be traded. It was a bunch of other stuff that White's numbers were just all over the shop. Now, he is wildly inconsistent, so I would expect some variance back the other way. But that one has worked out all right so far. But that does bring us to talk about one Zachary Skaterboy LaVine, because he is the first name on the buy low list. LaVine headed across to Sacramento. And I won't say it's been a particularly super strong start over the last 2 weeks. Some of that in Sacramento, some of that in Chicago. He's ranked 153rd. He's averaging just 28 fantasy points. That is very much below what your expectation would be on LaVine. Now, if you are watching this on the YouTube side of things, the numbers on the screen, at the bottom of the screen, are his full season stats. The outlier numbers over on the right of the screen are the outlier stats over the last 2 weeks. The rankings for category leagues are -1 weighted head-to-head category ranks, and then the points leagues are Yahoo points leagues rankings, Yahoo points. So he's just well down, right? 153rd over the last 2 weeks is not good. So what's happening? Why is it so far down? Well, we know how to do it. This is, again, part of what I like to do on these shows is not just show you names, and we can talk names, and I'm not here to hold your hand and go, here, just a little player for you to trade for. Make sure you do this exact thing, right? That's not what this is about. It's a garbage way of playing fantasy, and it's going to lead you to way more problems than it solves. What I'm trying to do, and I'll say this again, is that we're just trying to teach ideas, principles, theories, thoughts. It's all there, I think. So the number one thing you look at is go, okay, well, the vibe you have is, LaVine's struggling. And your number one thing should be, I guess he's shooting horribly. And he is. He's shooting 19% from three. So if you've got Zach LaVine on your team, the number one thing you should look at and go, I guess we're good. And you are. We're fine. You're fine. Yeah, his usage in that might be a little bit down in Sacramento. That's okay. But it's not this bad, right? He's under 52 true shooting. He's at 42 from the field. The thing that's a little concerning is just 3.3 assists. That's a little concerning. By the way, all of these stats are from his time. I said this was from part of his time in Chicago. It's not. Over the last 2 weeks, he hasn't played a game in Chicago. This is all Sacramento. The 3.3 assists is a little concerning. That's a little bit of a worry with Sabonis and DeRozan and Monk all handling the ball. So we've got to have, I think, a level of caution about where his assist numbers lie. That is a worry. But 18 points, 1.3 triples a game, that stuff's going to go up. Now, whether you think he's a 24-point per game scorer, which he's averaging, 23.5 for the season, he probably isn't. I don't know that he's going to do that. But all it takes is that 3-point shooting number to just jump to a normal number, and you're back at 20 points a game very easily, and we're back on track, and we're ready to go, and it's easy stuff. So I look at LaVine as maybe being able to be in the top 50. I wouldn't give up a top 70 player to get him. I would be banking on the panic of DeRozan, Sabonis, Monk, all of those guys being there, and him being a lower scoring player in Sacramento, even though it's not going to take much. He hits one extra three a game, which is, to hit 2.3 threes a game, very easy. He's now a 21.5 point per game scorer. Get half an assist and you're at 4 assists a game, and we're just right on the money. Like, that's bang on. Like, for reference, he is hitting 3.1 triples per game, as you can see down the bottom, 3.1 per game. He's shooting 43% from three this season. So, yeah, like, it takes some adjustment, but moving to a new team doesn't make you the worst shooter in the entire NBA. That's not a thing that happens. We'll also talk about his teammate. Because, again, narrative is a big part of being able to do trades in fantasy. And Domantas Sabonis is 58th over the last 2 weeks. He's down to 39 fantasy points. And the narrative around this can be, well, they blew the team up. And by blew the team up, they moved their all-star point guard. And they brought in Zach LaVine. There's Jake LaRavia in that mix as well. There's a new head coach. Everything is different. Blowing it up doesn't mean that they're necessarily 100% worse, but they blew up their idea of the team. And it's coincidentally tying into Sabonis having worse numbers. What's actually happening for him? It's a weird one with Sabonis because somehow for this season, and I don't know if you're aware of this, he's shooting 46% from three. 46 Domantas Sabonis. Now, he's not really taking many of them. What is he, 55 out of 120? That's an outrageous number. He only attempted 87 threes all of last season, 83 the year before that. He's at 50% more threes and still played 30 fewer games. So he is actually taking them, and they're going in at an astonishingly high rate. Except over the last 2 weeks, where he's down to 31%. Now, do I want to trust that Domantas Sabonis is a 46% three-point shooter? Of course not. I'm not insane. But we're working on an okay level of volume here to suggest that 31 might just be a little bit too low. He's hitting 1 3 a game. Over 1 3 a game. He's at 0.4 each of the last 2 seasons. So it is a big difference. And at the moment, it's a little bit down. The other thing we'd look at with Sabonis is we wouldn't sit there and go, wow, I really need to get my defensive stats from him. That's what he brings all the time, right? You wouldn't think that. But at the moment, it's also just way down. He's at 0.3 steals and 0.3 blocks. And you go, Josh, that's not that bad compared to what he normally does. And I get it. I get what you're saying. But it's half of his output for steals for the season. He's at 0.6 and he's at 0.3 here. Last season, he was at 0.9. Last season, he blocked 0.6 shots a game. This season, he's only at 0.4, so it's not a big number. But all of these things just tie into being slightly worse. And when you just, your threes drop from 1.1 a game to 0.8, so you lose a point off your scoring. You lose half a steal, which in fantasy points is 1.5 points. So that's 2.5 points down. You lose 0.1 to 0.2 blocks. You're talking about another half a point. So you 3-4 fantasy points just knocked off the top there. And interestingly, his assists are down by 1 a game as well. So there's just everything sort of, without feeling massively noticeable, everything is just lopped off a little bit for Sabonis. It's just lopped a little bit. He's averaging under 17 points a game in his last 7 games. Why? Well, the shooting is just off. 58 on 2s. Like I said, 31 on 3s. His free throws are down 6%. His true shooting's down from 67 to 60. All right, there's big drops. That's all happening there. So, while I don't know how much panic there is, there always is going to be somebody who looks at this and goes, not sure. The LaVine stuff, the added player, are they deprioritizing Sabonis? Is it more DeRozan, especially after his big game yesterday? And hidden in some of this as well is that Sabonis had 2 games where his minutes were down by 6 or 7 minutes due to foul trouble. And that doesn't always get reflected, especially the further you move away from those games happening. Today's episode is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. No, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that TLC. We're talking about tender, loving care. Yeah. I always find that decluttering and refreshing your space, which I actually really badly need to do, it can help you get back into a routine, tidying up, clearing out, whatever it is. Just giving your space a new look. Wayfair has everything that you need, and it's all within your budget. Their furniture and their huge selection, it just makes it so easy to find the pieces that fit your style and your budget. And the free and hassle-free delivery, free and hassle-free, they sound similar, but they're different. Free, money, hassle-free, stress. They're both gone. Get them out of here. Even the large items, well, that makes Wayfair a great option for you. Whatever your decor style is, Wayfair is going to have those items for you. So give your home the refresh that it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That is WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. So we looked at a couple of kings there. Let's move on to my king of New York, Mikal Bridges, who it's been a topsy-turvy ride for Mikal this season. I have been down on, let me rephrase this. I was down on Mikal through fantasy draft season. I was like, I don't know why people are taking him in the 50s. This doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense to me. And then he started out the season with an absolutely horrific performance and struggled, and then went on a hot streak and has fallen back off again. Overall, I think that around 80 to 90 is a realistic category league expectation for Mikal. Still hasn't missed a game. That's amazing. Still hasn't missed a game. But he's only averaging 27 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. He's the 157th category league player. For the year, he's 18, 3-3. That's not that good. He is playing 38 minutes a night. Of course he is. But those minutes there've been some variation. There was a period he was playing 40 a night, and then it went down to 35 a night. Now it's back up again. But the numbers overall for him have not, I wouldn't say they've blown anybody away. I wouldn't say that's been the case. He has been a disappointment where he was drafted. But we are past that now. Because this is, again, what's your immediate thing? What's happening to the shooting? Well, here you go. He's at 47 on his 2s. He's at 67 from the line. I don't really know what's going on with his free throws this season, by the way. 2 years ago, 90% on free throws. This season, 74. Free throws are the second most, behind steals, variable category in the NBA, and you just have wild, completely unpredictable swings. It further leans into an idea that punting of percentages in fantasy drafts is a viable strategy, because you could build yourself. I'm going to get Mikal Bridges. Look at that. You might get 85%, 4.5 attempts a game. We're good. Well, he's at 74 on one attempt. What? That's for the season. What the hell is that? There's so much variance in these categories. Anyway, he's even worse than that over the last 2 weeks. He's also under 16 points a game. He's also hitting 1.8 threes only. He's not taking any threes. The shooting is down. He used to be the model of efficiency. Not anymore. He's at 58 true shooting. He's at 56 last year, 59 the year before that. Like, all that's dropped. He's not a 60 true shooting guy anymore. But this is, again, taking it further. And this is, again, where narrative comes in. Because I can say all of this, and I will say it, and I did say it, and I have said it, and I will continue to say it, about Bridges not being this efficiency guy anymore. And the person that has Bridges, whether that's you or not, will look at it and go, it's true, he's not. He's not an efficiency guy anymore. This is crap. What is this? He's bad. But there's levels to it. And that's, again, another, point number 69 on my list of fantasy things. Is there's always levels to it. There's bad, and then there's bad. Or there's great, and then there's like, great. Or they're different things. And going from great to great is a big difference. And when your efficiency drops, and now you're considered, he's not this elite efficiency guy anymore. But then you go below that new low, they can get muddled up. So while his true shooting is down, is it 50% over the last 2 weeks? 50 true shooting. So that's got like 8-9 percentage points to rise. Why do I use true shooting? Because it incorporates threes, twos, and free throws. It's all included. It's a really easy one, I think, here. If anyone is just fed up with this and wants to give you, we'll give you away and you can get it for a top 100 player, I would do that. But do not believe that he is a top 50 guy or a top 60 guy. I do think, though, there is going to be a period of time coming up here where he has a run as a top 60 player. This is just how he tends to be. So it's a struggle. At the moment, it's not great. Nothing's going in. Volume is down. But I'm pretty confident of some sort of turnaround coming. We talked about Zach LaVine. We talked about Domantas Sabonis, but I don't even know why I just said Sabonis, because I wanted to do a transition from LaVine. That's poor hosting from me, and I could edit it out, but let's just talk about Lonzo Ball instead, because Lonzo has an opportunity. Lonzo, his numbers and his minutes restriction is raised up to 29 minutes now, around that mark. He has not been at that number. He's averaging just 22 minutes a game this season. The thing with this is that the idea of his minutes restriction being raised, which it has been, again, like point 122 on my fantasy list, is that people will go, why? I don't understand why you would think Lonzo's a good option. Look at what he's doing. He's averaging just 7, 3, and 3, and he's playing 22 minutes a night. And you're right. That's what he's done. But does that mean that is what he's going to do? Because there are plenty of people playing fantasy, and some of you will be watching this, that will just base everything on what has happened. Why would I want Lonzo? 7, 3, and 3, 22 minutes. That's not a 12-team league guy. Yeah, but that's in the past. That's what happened. It's a different set of circumstances now. And the thing that works in your favor is the minutes are up. He's just in an unbelievable slump. Like, it is, look at these numbers. Now, is Lonzo Ball, has he been a good shooter this season? No. What's his true shooting? 52. That's not very good, is it? He's shooting 29% from 3 over the last 2 weeks. An unfathomable 25% on 2s. His field goal percentage is 28.1. I could shoot 28.1. I couldn't, but 28.1. He's like, these numbers are insane. 45.6 true shooting. It's just not going to be this bad. And the thing that Lonzo gets by on is big steals and big blocks. He's at 1.5 steals for the season in 22 minutes. He's at 0.5 blocks in 22 minutes. His minutes are up to 26 over the last 4 games, and he's at 0.8 and 0.3. So the minutes have risen, and the actual pure numbers have dropped. Not even the per minute numbers, which often happens. You go, your per minute stats usually drop as your minutes increase. But his per minute stats have not only dropped, but his actual numbers have dropped as well, somehow. So all of this, 2-point numbers, 3-point numbers, steals, blocks, assists, Assists are down. Rebounds are about the same. But assists are down despite playing 4 or 5 extra minutes. And LaVine gone. And now he's missing time. Lonzo's missed 2 games in a row. And he's out for today's game with an illness. People are not interested in holding on to Lonzo Ball. In points leagues, I don't know if I would be either. He's only averaging 19 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks. I think he could be a 25-point guy, which is about that's 12-team waiver zone, but it's 14-team league valuable. But in category leagues, if he does get 29 minutes, 28 minutes, why can't he be 10, 4.5, 4, 1.5 steals, over half a block, get the percentages back up, and we're rolling. Hit 2.5 threes a game. That's valuable. It's got to be for certain builds, but he has done the thing where people will look at the past numbers and go, ugh. And currently it's way worse, and he's out. I don't think you have to give anything up to get Lonzo Ball, to be honest. But if you're in a deeper league, I would. I do believe there's going to be significant improvement from here. Significant improvement coming. I hope. I feel pretty good about saying that he's not going to shoot 25% on 2s or 29% on 3s, to be honest. Today's episode is also brought to you by Open Phone. And when you're running a small business, you wear a lot of hats. Your personal phone turns into your business phone. And there's so many calls and juggling all this stuff, and it gets too much, right? So with Open Phone, well, it's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and your personal life separate. For just $15 a month, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything that's happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or on your computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot or hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll get a rundown of your calls and action items the second that you hang up. And if you miss a call, well, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring that you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, Open Phone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That is openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off for 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba, and if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Let's go through the final buy low player, and we are going to go to Milwaukee, and we're going to go to old mate Brook Lopez, because Glenn Rivers has done this a few times this season, where randomly he just decides, all right, Brook's only playing 24 minutes a night. Okay. Is he washed now? Is he done? What are we doing here, Doc? What's the story? What's the plan? For the season, Brook's playing 32 minutes a night. He's down to 29 over the last 2 weeks. But we've seen this story multiple times. At some point, maybe it holds. But there was a period around the new year where he played 24, 23, 23 minutes. And then he went 32, 35, 34, 23, 33, 31, 34, 36, 35, 41, 36, 35. And then the last few games, 30, 35, 24, 25. Right? It's a little bit all over the place. That is the Glenn Rivers style. And every time it happens, are they moving away from this? And then inevitably he pushes back up and the numbers are fine. At the moment, they're not fine. Lopez is averaging just 24 fantasy points. He's the 167th ranked player. Look, I don't think that he's a top 100 guy rest of season, but what I do think is he will have a top 100 stretch at some point because his numbers will go back up. He has been incredibly mid this season. He's averaging, 12 and 5? It's not very good in 32 minutes. 2 threes and 2 blocks. That's all right. 80 to 81 from the line. Pretty good. Oh, that's pretty solid, right? Things at the moment are a little dire. He's not taking any free throws. He can't hit any 2s, 49%. He's not getting any steals. He's at 0.4. And overall, just 42% from the field just doesn't cut it. His blocks are a little down. His minutes are a little down. His rebounds are somehow below 4 a game. But realistically, it's just he's 5 percentage points down on his field goals. 5 percentage points. Bump that up. You get your scoring back going. Get your extra 3 minutes in, and we're good to go. It's really a simple equation. I don't think Brook Lopez stays at these 28 minutes or whatever they are. I don't think Brook Lopez becomes a 49% 2-point guy. Guess what his 2-point number is for the season? You don't know because it's not on the screen. Well, maybe you do. And if you do, you're a big Brook Lopez guy, and I appreciate that about you. He's a 59% 2-point shooter for the season. Last season, 62. The year before, 64. Is it possible that due to his age, that 2-point number is reclining? Hey, it's just kicking back on a lounge. No. Is it declining? Like, obviously, yeah. Is it because of age? Maybe. But 49? No. It's going to jump up a massive amount. It's going to bump back up. The minutes will push back up, I'm sure. I don't know when or for how long. But I'm pretty okay with saying that while I don't think the totality of Brook is going to be a top 100 player the rest of the season, he's going to have a top 60 run. Honestly, there might be a period where he has like a 5-block game, a 6-block game, and he goes 20 and 10 for 2 weeks where he's a top 20 player. That can still happen. And now we are getting to the stage of the season with 2 months left in the NBA season, with a month to 6 weeks left of fantasy seasons, that timing those big runs becomes important. It doesn't matter as much what someone does for the next 3 months. It matters, like, can you hit the right hotspot? Can you avoid the cold spots? And often, not always, but often, when there's a cold spot, it's like the weather, high pressure, low pressure. When there's a cold spot, often that'll get counteracted by a weird hot streak. And Lopez has shown that many times this season. Many times. We'll see how that goes. All right. They are 5 buy low names. I want to get your opinions on those guys. Drop them down below. We'll have the Sell High show coming up as well, so make sure you are subscribed and got the bell notified for that on video and on audio as well. And also, just keep yourself looking good, keep yourself looking sharp, looking smooth, looking schmick. Keep the positive thoughts going. We don't need extra negativity, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.